All right, another big story that broke over the weekend, according to multiple sources, per reporting from Alex Ashton. USL League One side South Georgia Tormenta has reportedly closed shops 2 weeks ahead of season kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're leaning heavily on Alex Ashton's reporting at Beyond the 90. I know John Morrissey followed up over it. What did he do that at USL Tactics or Backfield? One of the two. And this, this is obviously right in our wheelhouse as something we talk about on this show. We're talking about the growth. We're talking about dotting the map. We're talking about abundance theory of American soccer clubs, which is just start clubs, see what happens. Now, the other side of that coin, Rob, is that sometimes clubs are going to die. Sometimes clubs are going to collapse.
The next few years are going to be ugly.
And well, so that's a thing. Like, again, I ask this all the time, and I don't know that we've ever gotten to a place where we have a clear answer on this. But my question is, what is our appetite for failure? What is an acceptable level of failure in order to get to where we want to go with soccer clubs dotting our map as a country? Because that's the only way to kind of get the full tipping point, right? Get to that moment when, we've got professional clubs in 70 places or 80, 90, 100 places. And then they obviously, hopefully, not only have a stadium, not only play good soccer at the senior level, but launch academies and connect with the communities and create an environment where soccer fandom is a central part of your civic identity, which only means lifting the game, right? So we want that. Now, but if you launch clubs, it's not going to be perfect. This is still a tough sell. Soccer is not an obvious success in every place. It's not an easy success story. And Statesboro, Georgia was always a weird place to put a soccer team.
A pro soccer.
It was always like, and I remember back when I was doing my radio show, The United States of Soccer, and I was doing 3 hours on just American topics. We talked to the people from South Georgia Tormenta on a number of occasions. Like, Tormenta came up. They won a championship in 2022. They won that championship, I think, Rob. This is a team that found success on the field. They sold some players abroad within USL to USL championship teams, right? They had sort of all this outward signs. They had all the outward signs of a small market team that was going to be able to find success because they understood what their level was. And here it is, 4 years after their championship, 3.5, and it's all collapsing. And it looks like they're done. And their average attendance last year, less than 1,000 people. We were trying to determine, was it 700? Was it 500? Less than 1,000 people showed up on average to Tormenta FC games last season. So, again, like, did people not show up because it's just impossible to make it work in Statesboro? Did people not show up because the team screwed up marketing what they had? Did the team screw up because, like, is there blame to level here that is a black mark against the approach that USL has taken to putting teams on the map? That's a question I don't know if I have an answer to.
No, and the powers that be, the league and the club, yet to confirm anything. And we have one of our very engaged MK Ultras throwing us some money. Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt. But he's saying that there's whispers of a Hail Mary coming their way. And wait for anything from the league first. Also heard the draft is a no-go. Part of Alex Ashton's reporting is that there was a draft for the 17 players that were on contract for Tormenta. That seemed like an odd mechanism in general, but
dispersal drafts.
That there's a Hail Mary. I'm assuming that would be like a last minute.
Unfortunately, player dispersal drafts in these situations are pretty common they've happened, not common, but they've happened in other sports and in other such situations. That you have players under contract, you want to have them go places and not necessarily have their contracts canceled if you can avoid it. Now, again, this is all speculation at this point. We individually here at Morton Kickaround have not been able to confirm this. We've heard some things. We've got our own sources that say the league has been helping out in Statesboro, that the bills have gotten paid, not because Tormenta could pay them, but because the league was paying them. The Hail Mary, maybe there's a loan, maybe there's something that gets them through the season on that front. But everything, it just, again, it reinforces the truth of the matter, which is that these clubs often are just days away from folding at any point, right? Like, the economics are such that unless you have somebody, and this is another part of our sourcing, and this can be kind of a blind item, so I'm not going to identify anybody here, but we have had somebody say in some situations, you have ownership who's like, no, I can't afford to lose that money. That's definitely going to be lost. Like, this is a money losing enterprise from the get, especially as a startup club. And so somebody else comes in and goes, okay, well, I'm okay losing $3 to $5 million a year for a while to see if the value. And again, like we talked about this with MLS valuations. We talked about this where on the kickathon that, is MLS a Ponzi scheme? Are you bringing in new expansion money to pay back the people who invested years ago, and therefore everything is smoke and mirrors and none of it is actually real? I understand that attitude, but again, from an economic perspective, it is real as long as people are willing to lose money when the revenue isn't there, because in any other business, Rob, you want to see revenue. Like if Rob and I went and said, we're going to go sell our company. We have a company behind Morning Kick Around. Rob and I are equal partners, 50-50 share. We want to go sell our company. The first thing somebody who might be interested in buying our company is going to say, well, how much money do you bring in? What's your revenue? What's your projected revenue down the road? Right? And so for a soccer club in America in particular, but also in a lot of places around the world, there is no revenue, or the revenue gets eaten up by the cost, and then you're losing money. And again, the sale here, the thing that makes a club attractive is either just that sense of I get to be involved in a piece of civic identity. I get to be involved in that thing that connects people like a sports team, because nothing else can do that except a sports team. Oh, and by the way, maybe my franchise value goes up and I get equity on the franchise and I sell down the road and make all my money back and more. I may be losing money now, but if I sell this team for 500% of what I paid for it, I will make money in the end. That's how this works. And if you don't have people willing to step up and invest at this level, then clubs are going to die.
Yeah. Are owners willing to go into this as a money losing venture? Are they going into this be like, I got soccer team, that equals big money? Then a lot of these projects are going to be in big trouble, because at the core of it, I think that's where we're wrestling with the business versus the community aspect of it. Is what are they willing to give up to make this thing happen? Are they saying in 5-10 years, I'm going to make X amount of money? That's a dangerous situation to be in. And then also I think it was a separate Beyond the 90 article talking about what about those existing USL club owners adding 50, 60, 70 new clubs. What does that do to their club evaluation?
Yeah.
I understand maybe it's definitely like you got to hold tight because you got to see the long game. Like, okay, so in 5-10 years, we're going to have this whole huge thing. But here in the now, every day that one of these
right, but that explains
their franchise gets weaker.
This is the unifying theory that explains why USL is doing Division 1 and Pro Rel. Again, we can go as fans, as people not engaged on that side of the business, we can look at this and go, well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have promotion and relegation. Clubs should be able to move up and go down, and you get penalized for being bad, and you get rewarded for being good. Look at how it works in the rest of the world. And we see this as just the way soccer is supposed to be. That is not the calculation happening in Tampa. The calculation in Tampa is, oh, well, maybe that's the way the soccer is supposed to be, but also this is the way we build out how we can dot the map. That's probably not their language. We created that here, but this is how we dot the map. This is how we get more clubs. This is how we make more money. Okay, I'm not even applying a harsh read to this. Like, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, because if you do not have incentives in the system, there are no new clubs. And the number one incentive for anybody to get involved in anything like this is money. Again, whether it's value now or value later. And if you're playing a longer game, and I know that, again, lower division soccer, often a vanity buy is what I saw there. That's true. Sometimes it's a real estate play, right? Sometimes the club is attached to something else that you're trying to do business-wise. Your money may not come directly from the club, but your money will come from some other thing that you can use the club to leverage, right? So making money is not necessarily a bad thing, but this is why USL is doing this, right? They know there's going to be attrition. They know clubs are going to die. But if you flood the zone, if you've got clubs all over the place, that becomes less of a problem. And if you build out a structure that allows teams to go up and down, you create this extra tension and drama within the system, you can say, so what if there are more clubs? And that would normally mean that your value goes down. We've got a system now that can create more value through promotion and relegation, through advancement to the top division, through potentially access to the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yeah, that's a big carrot for folks to strive for. But are you essentially saying like we might gain 50 and lose 30 of them? That's a lot of heartbreak in a lot
That's
of
what
places.
I'm asking. I don't think so. I don't think that level of failure cannot be acceptable, right? Again, I've come to this place in my thinking, in my philosophy about this, because I used to mourn every single dead club in a dramatic way. I mean, the tears were pouring down my face. What a travesty! What a tragedy! What a disaster for American soccer that we've lost yet another soccer club. And again, in my room around me right now, and I can't move the camera, but you can see some of them here probably. There are dead soccer clubs. I am surrounded by ghosts. I am sitting in a room of soccer ghosts right now. And to me, that's sad. That's a tragedy. That's horrible, especially when people have given their time and money. When the club launches, they get all excited. I'm going to be a soccer fan for life. And then the club gets yanked out from underneath them. Gets stolen away by circumstance, by bad business, by poor decision-making, whatever it is. That's a tragedy. But I've gotten to this place in my philosophy. We've been losing clubs for 50 years in this country. More than that, if you want to go back to the ASL and all those things. But in terms of major men's outdoor leagues, professional operations, we have been hemorrhaging clubs for 50 years. We've been adding a bunch of clubs. Some of them have worked, but we've hemorrhaged clubs for 50 years. If we were doing it that way in hemorrhaging clubs, no pro rel, no connective tissue between divisions, no idea of just making it happen no matter how you can make it happen, and even if this feels like it might not be on stable ground, we're still going to do it anyway. That all that stuff at a previous point in my thinking would have bothered me. I'm over it now. I have to be over it, because if that wasn't working and we were hemorrhaging clubs, try something else. And again, you're going to have to accept that there's going to be failure in the system. I think USL should do everything it can to prevent that failure. I don't mean give Tormenta money necessarily. Again, let's go back to the origin of these clubs. Let's make sure we're picking people and clubs and locations and stadiums that make sense, that feel like they're going to have a long lifespan. You can't guarantee it, but you don't just put a club somewhere because, one guy says he's got a little bit of cat. Like, you have to vet people. You have to make sure that there's a market there. You have to make sure that they're putting the effort in to sell the tickets and make the money to just keep the club afloat. I want there to be a plan, but again, there's a level of failure that's just always going to be there.
Between the USL League One kind of ownership, musical chairs, and the USL Championship labor negotiations, you feel like the USL ecosystem is walking a fine line right now, and we are on the edge of possible greater success than ever, or a real a backslide, shall we say? But again, US American soccer.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people will take issue with this, right? Again, do you accept a certain now? If you were one of the fans of a club that folds, right? This is that thing that we do as human beings, where we overemphasize the things in our particular little world when there's a greater good out there, right? Yeah. It only matters to me what happens to me. I don't care if it hurts everybody else. If whatever is best for me is what I want, and forget everybody else. Like, I feel like there's something like that could be happening here in soccer as well, where I'm sitting here looking big picture. It's what I've been doing my entire career. But I can't forget that there are people who are going to be brokenhearted when their club folds. And there will be people that will leave the game and walk away because their club folds. And that is to the detriment of American soccer. But again, at this point, if we've been doing that anyway for 50 years, why not try something else?
We plan on having Alex on the show later in the week, and we'll keep an eye on things, how they play out this week. This seems like an important week in USL's 2026 calendar and possibly beyond.